The world is collapsing around our ears. I turned up the radio and I can't hear it. Welcome to the Zachrilege cast podcast and all the other stuff I usually say, but I don't have any notes tonight, so I'm just going to wing it. Hi, I am basically haven't been on the air for a month or so. So I wanted to do a show before the year is over to at least tell people I'm still alive. I'm still doing this show. This show means something to me. Hopefully it means something to you who are listening. Now, I've started this show doing push-ups to honor one of my Patreons. In fact, I'm honoring all three of my Patreons tonight in special, unique ways. I was honoring my friend Jared with that little singing introduction. In fact, the singing introduction was basically created because everybody does their own little pre-recorded stuff. And I was like, if I'm doing a live show, you know what I need to do? I need to just sing it. So that's how that started. This is just me right here. I've already had 3, but what the hell? Omegang Rosetta tonight, which is a cherry beer. I assume this is part of what they use for their 3 Philosophers Quad, which has just a little bit of cherry, but is very delicious. So the singing was for Jared. The push-ups were for Teody. And now I would like to give an honest, heartfelt talk about how awesome my final and I think highest amount Patreon is, Bobby C. Now, Bobby C. Oh, I'm sorry. I just had some equipment issues. I was going to say some really good things about Bobby, but I totally forget what I was going to say. So I guess we'll let that go. Thanks, Bobby, for being on the show. Now, what I'd like to do tonight, honestly, it's been a tough last couple months. I think everybody can kind of see where I'm coming from when we get here. We just elected a total dumbass to be our president. I mean, isn't it so America that we have a guy that people are comparing to Hitler and Stalin elected president? But I would say at best, Donald Trump is a C+, D- despot, strongman, because at least Stalin and Hitler, they'd been at war. They actually killed people. I don't think Donald Trump, like literally anybody who talks about him is like, if we go into that 2 men enter, 1 man leave Thunderdome cage, I'm coming out, and he's not, because he's a total pussy. And I know to say the word pussy, considering what he said about grabbing them, is totally un-PC. And I'm sorry to my few remaining fans for that. There's been this kind of cloud of just shit. And there's been a little bit too much, if not love, a little bit of deference to Trump. I mean, we're going toward this kind of normalization of the right-wing extremist kind of agenda, which is going to be really strong in the next 4 years, whether we like it or not. But what we need to do, well, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not the guy who has the podcast where I tell my minions what to do and they flock and they do what I say without any questioning. That's not how it works around here. We have conversations. Well, I usually have a conversation with another guest, and that's going to start again next week, hopefully early, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to send the net out. I'm going to let people know this show is continuing. We're going to do interviews. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people I can talk to, people that can inspire you and not make you just think, man, the world is not right. You think, hey, there are actually some really awesome people here. And occasionally we have setbacks, and we have to deal with those setbacks and move forward. If I had a nice list written out, I could talk about of the 75 to 80 or so people I've interviewed. We've lost some people. Some of the shows that I've interviewed don't exist anymore. Like Coronify Me, for example. Number 2 with Paul Sading. he's like 2 shows that have totally disappeared because the whole taking on Islam part that he did, it's just not, it doesn't hit people as well in this country, and we just have this very polarized view of it. The Best Hope is a show he started, but of course no longer is part of, which is Polite Conversations. Do check out that episode where she interviews Sam Harris. If you want to talk about a get, that's a get. But we've lost some other people. Cy Lost is out, and I'm hoping that at some point I can do what is called an exit interview. If someone stops doing a podcast, I want to talk to them and see what happened, why that happened. Not the, atheistically speaking, becoming what the hell that show is called now. I know, Thomas, you're free. I understand you're doing the show full time. But anytime someone takes the name atheist off their show, it makes me go, you're trying to reach out to a larger audience, which I understand because you got to make a living. But man, you're kind of saying that word, you're giving that word the credence, the negative credence that we can't, have necessarily. Now, like I said, Zandy, when I interviewed her, she was Sandy. And when I interviewed her and Nick Morgan Moore, they were just getting together and about to get married, and now they're getting divorced, which is very sad. When I had Chris and Corin on, they were newly in love, and they've since passed on. And I'm thinking, am I some kind of curse for people who like gotten together? Well, maybe give your relationship a little time and you'll be fine. Because since I interviewed Bobby and Ashley, they've gotten married. Ha ha. And I was in their house when I watched my Missouri Tigers lose to their Georgia Bulldogs in what turned out to be more of a pillow fight than we realized at the time. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Ashley. Love y'all. And Bill and Susie, of course, I don't know. They've been together, it seems like, forever. And they're still going strong. So it doesn't mean if you show up on this show, your show's going to end. But there's a chance, You could be like Bryce Blankenagel, who's trying to catch up to Thomas Smith and have like 15 shows. That's something that's intriguing. Trying to look at the rest of the shows to see people. We have Reese, who I will not mention by the last name or the show he did, who did a couple of attacks on me and my show. I'm still not sure why or what was going on there. I know when you're young and trying to make a name for yourself on YouTube, you're like, man, if I can just make it as a YouTube atheist, I got to be a total asshole and act like alt-right dickheads who have no empathy for humanity. Don't do that. I mean, you can, and you can make an audience and you can make a show, but it's just not going to work long-term. Just trust me. And good love to Trav. Of course, got the By All Means show, and him and Morgan are doing another show, the By Skeptical. Probably should get them on to come back. Adam Collins, who famously gave up booze for 30 days, but I don't think it totally stuck, but that's okay. Matthew James, who wrote his book about God and an atheist working together to save the planet. Now he has a sequel coming out about Jesus. I'm assuming that's the white Jesus. And let me go on a little rant here. When I like to come up to visit my parents in Nashville, and when I walk around the neighborhood, I see lots of right-wing paraphernalia, and of course, Jesus paraphernalia. There's a neighbor of theirs that has holiday decor for every holiday. We're talking Arbor Day and on, that includes a Please Pray for America, a little banner on there. And I saw neighbors about 4 houses down from my parents, African-American family, put out the Keep Jesus in Christmas, and of course the nativity scene where everybody is white. Why do Christians need their God to look like them? In North America, you can't buy a nativity scene that looks like people look in the Middle East. If Jesus looked like that, of course, the whole debate as to whether he actually existed or not. I'm sorry, but an albino dude who doesn't marry a bunch of women, who becomes a religious leader, sorry, not getting your signal there. Now, we had one guest in the previous year who was kind of moved on, but she's still kind of there, Jenica Krail, she worked with Dogma Debate. And of course, Dogma Debate kind of detached and took off, and now they've joined their own podcast empire. And the crew, David and Brandy, have moved out to California. But Jenica was doing social media for them. And, sorry about that one time I accidentally sent you a bad link, or it was a really good link, depending on your point of view. Lucifer's Ladies, of course, that show started, and then there was kind of a detachment of friendships there. And I'm just sad to see that, because we're not a big audience. If we can get 300 people together for an atheist anything, that's amazing. I heard recently a debate that Aaron Ra did, and I think it was the Houston Humanists, and they said they were the biggest humanist group maybe in the world or in the country. They have 3,000 people. There are probably 50 churches in Houston that have more people show up every week. So we don't have to get along, but we kind of have to figure out a way to work together. Now, one guest I'd like to get back on is Matt Riddle, because I know him in my fantasy football life. I know him in my kind of atheist life. And we just kind of scratched the surface, getting an actual Christian pastor on here and seeing any denomination of Christianity and going, wow, that's really different. I didn't know there were those kind of Christians out there, is a very important thing to do. Of course, Justin Scott, he's huge. Dan Arrow continually picking fights with Ken Ham, and even picked a fight recently with a fellow atheist. I'm trying to remember the exact term, but 3 beers in, what are you going to do? And I'm hoping one day, I'm just going to name drop as much as I can. Joe Kindick, Unbuckling the Bible Belt. I'm just hoping someday I have a bacon porter in my parents' fridge that I want to give to him that's probably 2 years old now. And in January, I'll be in Nashville. So just to know, anyone's in Nashville, hit me up. Karen, of course, just recently published a book, as Dan did, and we gotta buy these atheist books. Come on, let's do something. Those stupid Christian dumbass books come out, and people can buy thousands of copies of it. But let's do it. Of course, Andrew Torres, just rocking it. I mean, the whole GAM and opening arguments, and I know it's really the Scathing Atheist extended universe, since I just came from a Star Wars movie. It's good to see an actual lawyer on our side, because we're all going to need one someday, especially Eli. And when I had Scathing Atheist on, I did not have Eli as part of the crew, because he was not officially part of them yet. So I'll have to get him on and talk about licking somebody in public and whether that's considered assault, as it is by another one of my former guests. It was really cool to get John Hamill on, because now I've interviewed somebody in South America. I've interviewed a couple of people. I've only interviewed somebody from Australia. I haven't actually gotten an Australian interview, so that's going to have to be lined up pretty soon. Let's get international, let's hit everything that we possibly can. And Amber back on. Amber's pretty hardcore and pretty rough. I feel like she pulled a little bit of what I call slut shaming in a post she did on Facebook today. Whether you think somebody's having too much sex and acting poorly and then having STDs, I don't know. But I do really think the work she's doing with adoption in Alabama, people need to pay more attention to that. What's happening there, and the fact that now that we have dumbass in chief coming in as president, the state of Alabama and everything the South, and anyone who's got conservative views, they're going to come in stronger, and they're going to try to take advantage of more women in many ways. Women have been fucked with in this country so badly since the beginning, and the fight just continues. So you have to keep going. I really enjoyed my interview with Grace, a friend of mine who moved down. That's number 74. That's a second from the last. Who moved down to Uruguay and seems to be thriving down there, other than the lack of peanut butter and quality footwear, new clothing you can get. There's going to be a bit of an exodus, I think. Now, all this conservative BS, last 2 elections, there's been a lot of talk about people moving. Nobody has. And I bet the big-time people who said they were going to leave if Trump got elected aren't moving, because you know what? America's still pretty strong, a good country to live in. But it's good to know that we have options. I don't want to think this is it. This is the only choice we have. And my final interviewee that I did was Dan Simpson. The ability to talk to people is important. And I hope that everybody understands that. You need the ability to talk to people who have religious beliefs and maybe the ability to break it down. So check him out and check out the Street Epistemology. I'm sad that we had some audio issues, which tends to happen with Hangouts from time to time. So we may not have gotten everything, but he did say he was a beer guy, and he wasn't aware of Bourbon County Stout from Goose Island. So I'm sorry, Dan. We might have to get you re-educated when it comes to beer, because there's some good stuff happening. So this weekend, I'm heading to Jekyll Island, which is south of Savannah. So maybe Bobby and Ashley will hang out. Maybe not. It's a really short trip, and we're going down to an area that's totally disconnected. And I'm going to drink a copious amount of beer and celebrate the new year. It's kind of arbitrary, but it's good to kind of have that renewal and start from scratch and just decide, what are we going to do? Like, what is my cause going to be? I know lots of people who have causes, and they work very hard for them, and they do very good work. Well, what's mine? Let's find out. I want to do more interviews. I want to talk to people who are getting organized in every state, in cities, in places where you wouldn't think there wouldn't be very many atheists, where they exist and what they are doing and what we can do to be unified. And when we aren't unified, let's try to talk about it. Let's try to talk about it better than religious people do. And I hope it works out better than that Aaron Ra debate that he did about Darwinian evolution. Because the guy he talked with was Muslim, and the guy basically argument was you can't believe anything is true, which doesn't really help your case. If you're going to hit evolution as hard as you do that the same way with your own religious texts. You will destroy it in short time, and you'll be with us, and then we'll figure out what's true. What's great about science is science doesn't say we believe this no matter what, and nothing will change our view. If we find new stuff, we'll go with it. Now, when we're calling ourselves skeptics, we don't always do that. We occasionally get information that goes against what we believe, and we kind of push it aside. And it's okay to acknowledge that, and it's okay for that to happen. Just occasionally say, okay, I am wrong about this, and let me move on. Let me understand what's happening. So I just needed to get it back on the air. It's been a month. I know November 23rd was the last time I talked. I'm hoping to get a show next week. I'm definitely going to start booking people for January so we can get back to a weekly format, because I have all this, beer to drink, and I don't want to do it alone. I want to have friends with me. I want to go international. I want to go national. I want to try to reach somebody in every state in this country if I can, and see what's happening, what people are doing, and know that you're not alone. That's the whole point of this show, is to tell people you're not alone. There are atheists out there. There are people who are way better talking than I am. There are people way better producing audio. Trust me, I'm doing this totally live, and I just threw my microphone out and I'm talking, and I hope this sounds better than the usual. But I want to have conversations. I want to get to know people. I want to tell people stories. And I want people to get to know who I am, even though I sometimes downplay that. I'm really hoping that after I have my conversation with the powers that be, with God himself at ReasonCon, that I will be able to go in April and join everybody, because it was an eye-opening experience to see all the people that I had listened to and seen on YouTube videos in real life, and people who aren't involved with that, who are just fans and followers and supporters, which are great, because 2 out of the 3 people who are my Patreons are not people who do podcasts. They just support podcasts, and they support them in not just financial ways, emotional ways. It is invaluable to see when you have support and we have people following you. It means so much to me that Jared and Teody and Bobby, and I'll give Ashley a kudos too. Sorry about the cigarettes. I'll give them all kudos, because without them just saying, I'm behind you from the start, maybe I can't do this, because I don't want to talk to myself. I want to talk to other people. That's why I like to do the show. That's why every time I was like, I don't have a guest, let me just talk. I'm like, no, it's not as good, because it's not. Because when I have another person on, it encourages me to prepare, to do questions, to do notes, to do little things that try to, throw people off track and try to get an answer out of somebody that maybe you haven't heard before. Like, I look forward to interviewing people that have been interviewed a ton, because I want to try to ask them at least one question they haven't heard before and get one answer out of them. I mean, you have to get the standard pat answers from people who've done 50 interviews. Of course you do. You have to get their history. You have to get their show. You have to get all their links. But then, is there something from listening to their show that you get? Like, I'm kind of sorry that I didn't get a chance to interview No Illusions, who won that fantasy league for atheists. You didn't bring me on, though, guys. Next year, if you want a real challenge, talk to me. I am a 0 fantasy league winning guy, this year. So bring it on. My cats are at the door. They're knocking shit down. So I'll stop for now, because I have 0 notes. Usually I have a ton of notes. I don't like to go off script. Sometimes. Depends on the beer. But thanks, everybody who listens, everybody who watches, and even the one person who kind of goes after me. I really wish you next time make sense. And next time, bring your friends, and I will not know who they are. And I won't care what they say. I like criticism. Just have a freaking point. I don't know. I have no idea. This is such an odd world I live in. I think about listening to Scathing Atheist today and thinking about the first time I listened to it and going, oh, this week of misogyny, maybe my wife would like that. Oh, wait, she's kind of a believer, and probably not. But it's worth a shot. There are so many great shows out there. I'm going to try to highlight as many as I can. I'm going to go to the Facebook page, Zachrilege Cast, Zachrilege. Wait, Zachrilege Cast. On Facebook, I will post thoughts of my own, but usually just links to podcasts I listen to, and they don't necessarily have to be atheists, but they usually are. So I can let people in on what I'm listening to and what I think is important, and then you get to listen to the best. I mean, you listen to Seth Andrews, you're going to be very entertained. His Year in Review podcast, you didn't have to be an atheist to enjoy it. It's just, oh, here's what happened in the year 2016. Wow, a lot of really crappy stuff happened this year. What a surprise. But 2017 could be better. Doesn't mean this was a bad year for you personally. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe some great things happened to you. Let me know. Reach out to me. Let me, if you've been on this show, who do you want me to talk to that you think needs to be amplified? Because I'm here to amplify people. I'm not here to amplify myself. I am not Superman, even though I have the t-shirt. So I'm going to say good night, everybody. Good luck. I love y'all. It's been so much fun to do this show. I hit the wrong button when I was trying to do my exit noise, which I didn't do at the beginning. I totally forgot. But I was on the floor. We don't move your microphone, audio experts. Anyway, good night, good luck. Love all y'all. Please keep listening. I will be back next week. And maybe I'll do more off-the-cuff random talking, because it's just kind of fun to me. I don't know if it's fun to anybody else, but I enjoyed it. So good night, everybody, and stay classy.